Hey, witches, Mr. Overon here with Mr. Overon's Tarot Reading Services, and today I have a Q&A that came in. So let's get right to it, shall we? So somebody says, do you need to be part of a coven to practice witchcraft? You do not, in fact, need to be part of a coven in order to practice witchcraft. Um, there are some traditions and like offshoots of witchcraft that say that you should be part of a coven, but there is the solitary path where you do everything yourself and you do your initiations and your spell work and your ritual work and all that other stuff by yourself. And there's a little bit of like nuances to both sides. Is it good to be part of a coven? Yeah, if you work well with others. A lot of times in and this is just my personal experience, but in a lot of the covens that I have belonged to over the years, um, there has always started off with good intentions, and then there becomes this like power struggle, and egos get inflated, and then it becomes a he said, she said kind of bullshit, and it just kind of falls apart. So, um, that, like I said, is my own personal experience. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's the experience that you would have joining a coven, but if you can find a local coven that is willing to bring you in and you mesh well with their vibes and everything, by all means do so, but you do not need to be part of a coven in order to practice witchcraft. What is the difference between witchcraft and Wicca? Um, there is a little bit of a crowbar separation, and in the minds of people nowadays, Wicca and witchcraft are like kind of a blurred line type situation. And yes and no. Like, think of it in terms of secular religion. Christianity, Southern Baptist, and Catholicism are all part of the same kind of like Christianity, but offshoots. Um, and so, what you would do in a Catholic church or in a Southern Baptist church is not exactly what you would do in a Lutheran church, or, you know, so yes, it's still under the same umbrella, but the way that I like to explain Wicca is that it's witchcraft with training wheels. It is an offshoot of witchcraft. You are still technically practicing witchcraft. Where a lot of people get hung up on, though, is like that there's no supreme evil in Wicca, that it's all beautiful, it's all light, it's all good, it's all encompassing, it's all whatever. Yes ish. With Wicca, there isn't any devil, but some of the aspects of the gods, goddesses, and spirits that you are worshiping are way more overpowering than the idea of the Christian devil. So you still have negative aspects. You still have the darker side of those things. Can you be a dark Wiccan? This is a very muddy water situation because Wicca in Wicca is not supposed to be practiced as a dark uh, religion, whatever you want to call it. It's just not supposed to be practiced dark. But technically, yes, you can be a dark Wiccan. It just depends on how you go about presenting yourself and how you go about utilizing the energy and the spirits and the whatever that you are that you're working with. And that's where it kind of like muddies the water and kind of goes more toward black magic, which falls outside of the realm of Wicca. So yeah, Think of it as this: witchcraft is the spirituality and the energy and the things that you access. Wicca is just one of the many vessels in order to accomplish that. Kind of going from like the shallow end being Wicca to the deep end being witchcraft in all of its entirety and the whole of its existence or whatever. Um, what are some tools that are essential for somebody who is just starting out? You don't need to buy all the bells and whistles and all the crystals and all the what the fuck ever you can find at a new age shop. Your most powerful tools are going to be what you find at home. Or I shouldn't say powerful, the most useful tools you're going to find are things that you find at home. And this right here, a knife. Um, I should have had this better put together. And we'll use this as an example of a wand and a basic candle. That's all you really need. You want a wand to direct energy. You want a knife that you are going to deem sacred. It can be a fucking butter knife. It doesn't matter what kind of knife. This is actually my camping knife that I just happen to have right here in front of me. But you're going to use this for like cutting, like symbolically cutting things or actually cutting cords or whatever else. You don't need a special athame or whatever else. This is just a regular Bic lighter in a silver case. So nothing special there. You don't need anything. You want a spell book? There's your spell book. A spiral 3-ring binder notebook. Spell book. You don't need to have any kind of special equipment or whatever else. Now, crystals, you don't need to have crystals. You can go out into your front yard or anywhere and find a rock that like calls to you, and that could be your altar piece. That could be your symbology for earth, whatever. Don't overthink it when it comes to the decor of your practice. Now, is it nice to like feel a little bit witchy and a little bit extra to have a quartz crystal cluster for like banishing negative energy and all this other stuff? Yeah, that's great. And if that's like the vibe you're going for, awesome. Otherwise, all you need is a pin, some paper, a candle, a knife, something to act as a wand, which could be a stick that you pick up off the ground, and a lighter. And there you go. Those are your tools. Um, Not every spell or ritual that you cast is going to require a tool. So it just depends on what you want and what you're looking for in your practice. How do spells actually work? Is it energy, intuition, or something else? Yes. The best analogy that I can give for how spells work is that magic follows the path of least resistance. And so a spell, think of a spell like a dam and you're diverting a river. So you could put all the intentions you want into it, you can put all of the energy you want into it, but if it goes against the natural flow of things, that spell may only work for a short period of time, or it may not work at all. And your spells are to be thought of like crock pots. You cast it, you set it, you forget it, you don't think about it anymore. I know that there are tons of people out there that are just consumed with like, oh, my spell's not working, so I gotta cast it again, I gotta cast it again, I gotta cast it again, I gotta cast it again. And all you're really doing is, in a sense, annoying the gods, the spirits, whatever. Some spells are made to work, some spells are not to work. And it doesn't matter how powerful of a witch you are or whatever intentions you have, intentions don't really matter all of that much when it comes to your spell work and your magic work. Yes, you need to have a clear, focused attention or intention for what you're doing. You can't just be all, duh, I'm gonna cast a spell for this, or and like be half-assed about it. But the idea that's circling around a lot of the internet right now is that intention is all you need. Well, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Spiritual spirits, gods, deities, whatever you want to call it, the universe does not work by intentions, because what you intended doesn't mean that that's how I am going to understand it. What you mean when you are casting a spell is not how the energies or how the gods or the spirits are going to interpret your intentions. So there are a lot of things that you have to do. Energy is one of them. If you are casting a spell while pissed off, even if it's something as simple as, I shouldn't say as simple, but for the context of this, as simple as putting or helping somebody get better, your internal energy is going into that spell. So you are actually probably going to prolong their sickness or suffering because you have an internal energy of like, "Urgh." Also, you know, just a little caveat, whenever you're working magic for somebody, it doesn't matter if it's your own child, you still need permission, because it is technically black magic if you do not seek the permission of working that for your child or for the person or whatever. And people are gonna die on that hill, and it's fine, because flowers bloom from death. Sorry, you know. You might be thinking right now, well, you know, no, if I'm the father or if I'm the mother and I want to protect my child, I can protect my child. Blah blah. Yes and no. Like, there are finite caveats to that, and if you want a whole series on that or another video on that, I can get into that a little bit more. But just remember, regardless of your intention, if you cast a spell on for somebody or on somebody without their permission, it is technically black magic. No matter what you think or what you want, it is technically black magic. The very basic term for black magic is utilizing magic against somebody else's will or without somebody else's understanding. So, yeah, we're just going to put a pin in that for now. Is witchcraft a religion, practice, or both? Again, yes. Witchcraft is, well, up until just recently, was a federally recognized religion. I think it is still federally recognized, just not recognized within the military. I don't know the whole like whatever that Pete Hegseth has just done, or Hegseth, however you pronounce his drunken ass. I don't know the full caveat of that, but For the sake of this conversation, yes, witchcraft is a religion that is federally recognized, and it is also a practice. So, as a religion, we don't have like a specific temple or one holy book or whatever else, but it is a recognized religion. And witchcraft itself is not considered a religion. It falls under um, the label of paganism or Wicca or whatever else. Um, so, if you were filling out a federal form or any kind of form that says what religion are you, you would like write in pagan or Wiccan. Um, so yeah, and all religion is a practice. You have faith, but you also enact a practice for your religion. So the practice for Catholics is going to mass, praying the rosary, doing communion, so on and so forth. All of that is a practice of your faith, of your religion. Um, are there any risks to casting a spell as a beginner? Yes, there are tons of risks. Doesn't matter if you are a beginner or an adept witch who has been doing it for decades. You always run the risk of something happening. Um, the number one thing that I can suggest to any witch of any level is always, always, always cast a circle around yourself. And that is very basic witchcraft 101. Does not matter if you are practicing black magic, it does not matter if you're practicing white magic, whatever you are practicing. Just because the second you light up a candle or you begin to do magical workings, all of the creatures and the spirits and the gods and whatever else that exist on the astral plane or exist around us are going to be right there like, what's up? And it's not, you know, when you have that spiritual shield around you and you take time to properly cast everything, you leave very little room for things to break through and like actually attach themselves to you. Um, but when you don't put up any kind of shield or you don't do whatever to protect yourself while casting, there are going to be things that like either attach to you or start to siphon off your energy or um connect to the energy that you are raising. And if you're like, say, casting a spell on somebody to make them better, think of it like a virus, and you sent an email to somebody, and the second that they open that email, that virus has now infected their computer. Kind of the same thing. So yes, there are inert dangers that you have to worry about. How do you clean a space before doing magic? There are multiple different ways to clean a space when you are about ready to perform magic. Your sacred space should always be in some kind of cleanliness, some kind of order, like dusting or whatever else you got to do. Um, the very basic way to clean an area is to light up an incense and then just smoke bath it. And if there's anything that you want to say on top of that, like by the power of this smoke, I hereby banish any negative energies. I clean this space in the name of whatever god or goddess. May only love and light exist here, or whatever else you feel like you need to, and then call it good. You could save some moon water and just do a spritz of that over everything. You can burn some sage, do the same thing. And so there are a lot of different ways. I personally don't ever clean my altar. I just allow it to accumulate whatever because it's in my home. And I feel that my altar is the heart of my home. And so if I'm cleaning away the heart of my home, how is my home going to survive? My own personal practice, but however you decide to clean it or whatever else. Um, that brings up the next thing. What is the purpose of an altar and how do you set up one? Okay, the purpose of an altar is just to create sacred space that you can utilize for working your craft, whatever that might be for you. Um, it does not have to be a fully elaborated set up space all the time, especially if you are like practicing as a teenager or you're just practicing and don't want the rest of the family to know or whatever the reason might be. You can keep all your stuff in a shoebox and put it on a TV tray. And that TV tray can be your magical workspace and your altar. You don't have to have one that is set up all the time, but think of your altar as your workbench. That's where you are going to do all your working, your casting, your whatever else. But for whatever reason, you're not allowed to keep it up. You can pack it up, take it with you. I actually have a whole box that is my portable altar that I will take with me when I'm doing work for friends or I just want to work out in nature somewhere. And it has all the stuff that I would need to set up an altar that would be representative of who I am and the gods and goddesses that I work with. Um, the next question: how do correspondences such as herbs, crystals, colors, moon phases, etc., influence spell work? So this is a really interesting question because there are so many nuances and caveats to this specific question. Um, Correspondences really do help strengthen a spell if you are trying to align yourself with those things. Are they necessary? Not always, but like certain colors, like you would use a green for money or for peace or to green light something, make it go forward. You would use red for fiery passion or anger or um, love. You would use yellow for studying or to brighten somebody's mood or whatever else. So, depending on the color and what you are doing, depends specifically on the correspondence that you want to align to. So, certain times of day, if you are really into astrology and wanting to utilize that, so say that you wanted to do a love spell, which I would not do, and I suggest that you never do one. And can get into that later. But you would want to do it like during the time of Venus at this specific time, using a pink candle or a red candle, and then just kind of go from there. What's the difference between banishing, binding, and hexing? So the differences between banishing, binding, and hexing is banishing, you are making everything go away from you. You are like, I am banishing you from this area. Think of like getting thrown out of a club or the bar or whatever. Binding is you are holding that to a specific location, or you are binding a person. Think of like handcuffing somebody. You have bound them to that chair. So banishing is making things go away, binding is keeping it contained, and hexing is casting a spell or some kind of curse on somebody. So could you do all three at the same time? Technically, yeah. You could banish the negative energy that they have put on you or put into your life. You can bind them from continuing to do harm to you and others, and you can hex them so that if they do any more work against you, that it falls back on them. Um, so a lot of times people get all three of those kind of mixed up. Like, well, I banished the person. Well, that's nice. What else did you do? Like, think of banishing like a restraining order. Yeah, you put it up there. Doesn't mean that people have to follow it. But if you banish them and ban them from showing back up, then that's a little bit stronger. That's like locking the door. If you banish, bind, and hex them, that's like them coming to your house with the intention of doing harm or whatever else and getting in a car wreck, getting out and continuing to walk to your front door, and then the police show up because they're at your house. Kind of using those analogies. Um, how do you write your own spell instead of following somebody else's? Your own spell is the most basic part of witchcraft. Um, it can be as elaborate as you want it to be or as simple as you want it to be. A spell is just an advanced form of prayer. You can include a god or a goddess or a spirit or an energy or whatever else you want, but with a spell, you are choosing the god, goddess, or energy. You are setting the mood or whatever of what you want that spell to do. You are saying exactly what you need that spell to do. You are putting your own energy into it, and you are casting that spell and sending it out into the universe. A lot of people like to use rhyming, just because the flow of energy like really feels good on the tongue, and it just kind of like um, for an example, roses are red, violets are blue. I cast this spell on you. Stupid thing like that. I'm just using that. It's kind of whatever. I have written out elaborate spells that are very poetic and very metaphorical and very rhythmic. And I've written out spells that says, so and so, you will not do XYZ. And if you do so, may it return upon you 1,000 times fold. As so above, as so below, so shall it be. That's it. So, um, you can also modify other people's spells. Like, you really like the way that this particular spell reads out, but it doesn't fit everything that you need for the spell to work for you. So just change it around, play with it. However it feels for you is basically, how it's going to be. You don't follow somebody else's prayer when you are in a different religion and praying to a different god or goddess or whatever. So why would you follow somebody else's blueprint? What spell works for me might not work for you. And when I write spells for other people, I take that into consideration. And I am constantly like, okay, this person needs XYZ, so let me write it out as like I'm that person. So yeah, spells are very personal, and they're like a personal prayer. However you decide to word it is how your spell's going to be. What roles do the deities play in Wicca or witchcraft, and do you need to work with them? Gods and goddesses and spirits and so on and so forth play a huge role in witchcraft spirituality. Do you need to work with one specific god, goddess, or spirit energy? No, you do not. The idea of paganism and what paganism is the worship of many gods and goddesses and spirits. So I personally utilize the goddess Diana as my main mother god or goddess, and I use Apollo or Ra for my idea of the male aspect of God, and then I use Kronos as my idea of the embodiment of nature or Pan or whatever. So whenever I see a deer, I automatically feel like I am in the presence of God, especially if it's a stag or um, buck, whatever you want to call them. That that's like a spiritual moment for me. And the last question that I am going to answer in this is, what is grounding and why is it important to do before and after rituals? So that goes back to spell casting and like having that energy inside of you. When you begin to do a ritual or a spell, you have to, you don't have to, but it is highly recommended to take a moment to meditate and just clear out those energies that you have inside of you. And again, it's important when you're first starting out because you don't want to carry the energy of the day into your magical sacred space to do work, and you don't want to move out of that sacred space with that energy. So it's, think of it kind of as a closed loop system where it just comes back on itself, and just like when you're at work and you're stressed out and you're at lunch or something, and you just like and you just have that relaxing breath. That's kind of what you want to do going into a ritual and coming out of a ritual or a spell. Um, what it, I don't have enough time to do any more of these, but if you want a part two, let me know. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Send me more questions like this. I love to give out the information that I have. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, put them in the comment section down below. If you want to talk to me directly, you can shoot me an email, mroveron@gmail.com. Or you can go over to my website, mroveron.com, and we can connect there. I do spiritual reading, or I do tarot readings, spiritual services, spell casting, the likes of, whatever. And follow me on all the different social medias. And until next time, I will talk to you later. And in a world full of Karens, be somebody who cares in the world. And I will see you then. Bye, witches.